Thank you all for coming today. I want to take a few minutes to explain to you about Standard 9, and it's about ethical principles and professional norms. And so we're going to look at the expectations and the boundaries of professional educators. Now, we know as educators, we are held to a higher standard whether we like it or not. It's just something that we have to do. We can't go and just go around the community all floozing it, showing everything and doing everything and posting anything. So we have a level of, we have a higher level of professionalism that we have to maintain. Now, as an instructional leader, we should promote the success and the well-being of every student by adhering to the ethical principles and professional norms. Now, professional educators have the responsibility for establishing and controlling boundaries in their professional relationships. And not only within the community, but as well as with our students, with each other. We just can't go out and want to party and post all types of pictures. We can't talk about other students we can't talk about students and I know we do it from time to time, and guys, chime in when you get ready. At times we do this, especially at lunchtime. Ooh, let me tell you what happened. But we have to have a certain level of professionalism, and there is some confidentiality that has to be maintained at all times. Now, the state law, which is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, which governs the confidentiality of the students within our classroom. So we have to make sure at all times our classrooms, whatever it may be, testing is coming up next week. I've been working with Ms. Campbell with testing, and I sign off on all those papers about confidentiality as it pertains to testing as well. So we have to maintain that same level of confidentiality in testing that we do in every day, not just that testing a couple of times a year, but also in the classroom every single day.
So during, if I had a parent coming in for students against something, for example, I'm not supposed to discuss the student's brains in that setting, but wait until another conference with teachers.
Exactly,
So
because
parent, okay.
yes, because what happens in a PTSO meeting, or they're coming into your classrooms, parents, other students can hear you discussing certain things. And let's face it, PTSO is not about, let's have a conference. Let's schedule a conference so we can talk one-on-one and nobody's around to hear the information about that student. So yes, thank you for that. And guys, we have to maintain, and I say this time and time again, we talk about confidentiality. It says, as an educator, we should comply with the state and federal laws and local school board policies related to the confidentiality of students and personnel records, standardized test material, we just talked about that, and other information covered by the confidentiality agreements. And we have those, we've been a part of those, we're privy to them, and guys, we hear a lot. Kids talk to us a lot, come to us a lot about things. And there are some things we can share with parents and other teachers, and there are some things we can't discuss with anybody else. Now, there is a code of ethics regarding the confidentiality of students. Now, we've got to look, and we're going to identify some essential ethical and potential moral and ethical consequences to decision making when working with school personnel, community members, such as confidentiality, integrity, and respect. We talk about integrity and we talk about respect. I'm at Gaston Middle now, and I tell you this, one thing that Mr. Gulledge is about, he's like, we've signed off, and even when it comes to something simple as having, you can't take a picture and post it on Facebook or social media with booze, I'll say that, with liquor, even if it's a glass of wine. In some things, there's a level of integrity that he doesn't want that out there for his students and for his parents to see you as an educator doing for the world to see. And anybody have anything on that? But it makes sense. Yeah, you don't want to go ahead.
I'm even careful now about getting this, let's just say this is last teams in the picture. I try to remember all the parents because it can be considered.
Yeah.
Right.
Misconstrued.
Yes.
And even in addition to that, even going out to eat here locally in a restaurant,
Yes.
you have to be cautious about. It's sad to say, but because we have an image to uphold,
Yeah.
what you order,
Yeah, exactly, because, you know, it's fun for us to go out and have a margarita, and we think it's okay at a restaurant, but you never know who's looking. And we have to be aware of that. And and when we say norms, these are community norms. In some communities, the norm is, hey, let's throw one back, and it's nothing. But when you live in a conservative community, you have to do conservative things. Now, we're going to just look just at a few of these when it comes to the confidentiality concerning students when it's legal, with the integrity and with respect. Teachers, we've got to demonstrate whether we like it or not. We've got to set the bar high. The bar is already set. Let me say that the bar is already set. We've got to reach when it comes to the demonstration of integrity, impartiality, and ethical behavior in the classroom and in the conduct with parents and coworkers. How many of us have friended parents? How many of us have friended parents on social media, and parents want to send us an inbox about how is Joey doing? We do. I've been guilty of that.
A handful of times, but it's with parents that I feel like,
Family, friends.
yes, someone who I may know other than just from having their student.
Yeah, or somebody they were your friends before you had them as
Exactly,
your child.
Or
as
at least an acquaintance with.
Gotcha. But sometimes we have to. There's a fine line.
That can be tough. And then you feel bad if they send you a friend request and you.
And then also you've got to make sure, and we know people hack all day long.
Mm-hmm.
How do you know it's really that parent? And so that's why they try to stay away from different things. And like I said, you want professionalism. I've had cousins in my class, and I've had to call their moms. And any other day I'd say, hey girl, and I'm like, hello, Mrs. So-and-so, this is Mrs. Harrell. I'm calling about little Johnny. Little Johnny isn't bringing his device to class, or Johnny didn't pass his test. You understand that? So I take off certain hats in order to deal with certain people, depending on. You understand that? It's just the way of the world. And guys, we have to report these things. And I think we've all, if we haven't been in these situations, you keep teaching, you're going to be in situations where you're going to overhear some things. Teachers, we are some of the kids' confidants. And we're going to hear them talk about some topics that they may not discuss with their parents. And there are some times that we have to report certain things, such as any type of behavior that alludes to abuse, any type of behavior. If they're speaking on suicide, had something come up today as I was shadowing somebody. Suicide. If you think your students are doing drugs, selling drugs, using alcohol, eating disorders, any type of similar behaviors, those are things you've got to report. And you want to report not just to, if you think there is suicide, who are you going to contact? Are you going to, girl, let me tell you this, who are you going to contact when it comes to a student? Hopefully we're going to contact the counselors, and then next we're going to contact the parents. We've got to get somebody involved because that's our duty. Because you don't want that to be on your conscience. You don't want that to be blood to be on your hands for you not reporting. But there is a level of confidentiality. But when it comes to danger, when the students are in danger or someone else is in danger, we've got to report that. Now, let's look at these. What should you do? You have a grandson. There's a grandson in your community, and this, you are teaching the grandson of an activist, a community activist. And she runs into you at the mall, and she asks about her grandson's grades and behavior. What should you do? Schedule a conference? But what about grandson? Is that a problem? What's the problem?
Unless she's guarded.
So I'm thinking like that too. And then what's wrong with the mall? What's wrong with the mall? It's loud. People shopping. They ain't anybody listening to you.
But you never know.
Exactly. So have we been guilty of that? We run into parents, and I know I run into folks.
Football game.
Exactly.
Walmart.
Yeah.
And I mean, and the difficulty in that is sometimes that's the easiest place to find them. You know, because if you call them and you have no contact and you see them, you know what,
Yeah, because they are hard to get
Right, that's what I'm saying, and so sometimes, you know, out in public, you're like, oh, wow, you know.
And they don't
They
show
do-
that
you do
they're
exist.
PTSD days.
Yeah.
So it's
Exactly.
kind of like your only chance to
Yeah.
say something, that's your one opportunity.
But what if they came back and said, "Do you know this teacher approached me in Walmart?"
Yeah.
And parents will say, they'll do it, they'll say, parents will, they will. What about the second scenario? It says teacher gets students to peer grade. Each student can see the other kid's score. Is that okay? It's not okay? It's a fine line. But the research that I've seen, it's okay. Because again, what I said about this, we talked about earlier. One thing about peer grading is it gives the kids a second look at what it is that they missed, and they get immediate feedback.
But I think you have to address the things beforehand, because if a child, if, let's just say someone gets a 50 and everybody else gets a 100, somehow they will decide to make fun of that could be considered bullying.
That's true.
So you have to go over against those things beforehand.
See, with me, being a special education teacher, it's a little bit different because all of my students struggle. So they feel like when they're in my room and it's a small group, they're in that safe place where they know they don't, generally speaking, they're not afraid, you know, of having to worry about.
You know what I usually ask, not always, but on occasion I ask, does anyone have a problem with others grading their paper? And then you have sometimes 1 or 2% on, you know, then you know not to.
Okay.
But other than that,
But this is okay. This will be okay. But there's a fine line. And you know what kids you trust and what kids you don't trust to run their mouths. Oh, let me tell you about them, and then you're in the hot seat. You're in the principal's office. You know, but that's not breaking confidentiality because you're not exposing all the kids to every grade that the kids. It's just that particular score. And the last scenario, guys, it says, teacher asks your children, if you're in Mr. Bailey's class, to go to his room for help on the test. But Mr. Bailey is a special ed teacher. Is this okay?
You have to be really careful with that.
What do you do? They need help.
One thing that we sometimes do in my classes is there may be one of my students who necessarily doesn't need help with that concept that we may be working on, but there's a kid who's not mine who does need help, so we mix them up. And so a lot of times, and I'm in there every day co-teaching, they don't most of them do realize that I'm a resource teacher. I try to avoid the word special education and use resource. They just think I'm another teacher in the room, so they really don't think anything of it.
Exactly.
But we try to do that, is make it that way as much as possible.
Anybody else? When I was co-teaching, I had a co-teacher in my classroom. What we would do when test time came, she'd take half the kids and I'd keep half the kids, but I would mix and mingle the kids that she had. They were all sped, and I mixed a few regular ed kids in that group so that way nothing was said and they never knew for real. And some kids are okay with the fact that I know I need help, I'm going to get help, and others are not. And some are very, it's a pride issue, and I understand that.
I think it's knowing your students too, because I had a student once that he was he was a big baseball player. He didn't want people to know he had extra services. That he was even willing to take baseball practice time to come in later. He did not ever want to leave that room. So just knowing your kids, I think that's what's important. You just get to know your students, you know what's good, what's not good.
But understand, this is not okay, and if you're doing it, we've got to do something different. And just understand that if the shoe was on the other foot, and you were that special ed kid, do you want everybody knowing that's what you're doing? And guys, at the end of the day, is that it? At the end of the day, guys, I hope you guys have learned something about student confidentiality and the importance of privacy, and take it to heart as we begin to teach, as we begin to go out in the community and see parents, grandparents, aunts, and uncles. Just be mindful of your environment and where you are. Any questions, any comments, anything? Thank you guys for your time.